before I even get started, I like to, I guess, build like a rapport just to kind of orient like whoever's watching this to get to know who you are and how you came across Radix, all that sort of wonderful stuff to give some context around this. So I guess like
Yeah.
like did you like start how did you get involved in Web3? How long have you been here?
I started early last year, I think. Uh, I'd been slightly interested in crypto technologies for quite a while, but hadn't taken the dive. And then last year I started to do a little bit of mining and bought a little bit of crypto and got increasingly involved in it.
Gotcha. So your first like crypto exposure wasn't Radix. Were you looking at other platforms to develop when you started thinking about building dApps?
Well, I very briefly looked at Solidity and decided that wasn't for me. And then later I looked into Holochain, and that looked interesting.
Okay.
But I didn't really stay with it. And so Scrypto is the first thing I've stuck with for more than a couple of weeks.
So what made you like look into Scrypto? Like what motivated you to start doing Scrypto versus, Ethereum or Holochain you mentioned?
Yeah, what really got me started with Scrypto was I saw that it has solved a lot of the problems that I noted in the previous languages I tried out. And I especially liked the asset-oriented way of handling assets. It just struck me as the perfectly correct way to do it, and I wanted to test it out, see how it works.
Okay. Did you have any kind of like developer experience, any kind of tech background that helped you kind of evaluate like which platforms to build on? So you mentioned like Ethereum Solidity wasn't something that you thought was a good idea to build dApps. However, like that's sort of the biggest ecosystem right now. So what gave you that sort of contrarian perspective that Ethereum isn't the way to go, but Scrypto is?
I've been a professional systems developer for 25 years now, and I've seen C and C++ develop over those years. I've seen Java develop and JavaScript develop. And it's just that what I saw in Solidity didn't give me any confidence in the quality of the programming experience.
Sure, and that's why you started with Scrypto, and you've done a few challenges now. The last one you did was the lending dApp, and then now it's the portfolio management dApp, which is awesome. Do you see yourself building dApps on Radix in the future?
Yeah, I very much think so. I'm working on an NFT shop now for Viking Land, so I think I'll stick with it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I have seen Viking Lands around. I've yet to like look deeper into it, but definitely awesome to see people starting to build, an ecosystem around Radix as we head towards Babylon. So it's wonderful to see.
It's pretty amazing that we've been able to build an ecosystem already before we have smart contracts. That's really astonishing to me.
Exactly. So I guess let's go over your submission. How did you want to do this? I have this pulled up on my screen on my end, but I'm curious to know if you want to do it yourself on your end, and I can just take a look from your screen.
Well, we could do that. I'm not sure how we do this at all, so we just have to improvise, I think.
Okay, sure. I mean, so I guess I can record my screen on Discord and maybe you can take a look at it and see kind of like, I guess, walk me through as I like go over it. Does that work with you? Can you see this?
What am I looking at?
So if you head over to your Discord
Let's see.
and the dev voice channel, I think you can click on my name.
You have the GitHub page open, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, great. And so, yeah, so this is your submission. I guess, um, let me see. Before I go here, I wanted to know, because since you've also done like the lending challenge, like, was there any differences that you noted when you did the lending challenge versus the portfolio management challenge? I mean, those are two quite different ways to design a dApp. So I'm curious to know what your take on that was.
I felt like the portfolio challenge was a lot harder because you need to take into account a lot of things that goes on inside various types of investments. Whereas in the lending challenge, you could basically decide for yourself what kind of lending you wanted to do, so you could narrow down the scope of what you were going to implement.
Yep. No, I see what you mean. It was also, I mean, I also submitted my own submission before I started working for RDX Works. And I thought the portfolio management was also pretty challenging myself. There was a lot of moving parts that I had to think about. For you, how did you sort of think about that?
It took me a while to figure out how I wanted to do it, but I eventually landed on the idea that I had to not know anything about how investments are taking place. Part of the reason I figured that out is that what I wanted to do was take one or two of the lending challenge submissions and implement those as investment in my portfolio. And the things that they do is so varied and so amazingly, wonderfully unpredictable from my point of view that I can't really know anything about that inside my portfolio application, I feel like. And so I had to abstract that away somehow.
Sure. So let me rehash that. So just to make sure that I understand you correctly, you were using your previous lending, or at least parts of your lending dApp in a previous challenge, and you tried to implement it here in your portfolio management. Is that correct?
And I was looking at my own lending submission and also those of others. And I was thinking, what do these have in common? How can I make a portfolio that can support all of these? And the answer is that the portfolio app can't really know anything about what's going on inside of them.
Right. Right. Yeah, for sure. Because the portfolio management dApp is more like a sort of like an interface, and it would connect to like other dApps, and because you can't see or understand how the logic behind those dApps, individual dApps work, like I guess that's what was challenging for you.
Yeah, that's right.
So you mentioned it. One of the problem that like you had issues with this challenge was figuring out the kind of idea that you wanted to build. Did you like take a look at the space and see like what other portfolio management dApps that exist in Web3 space or DeFi space?
I took some look at it, but I also, of course, had some experience from my year of trying to invest in crypto. And from that, I tried to make something that would hopefully be able to incorporate all types of investments.
Right.
And not become obsolete overnight.
Yep. Yeah. That's good to know. I mean, so you have here in your I'm taking a look at your source folder here, and you have essentially three blueprints. When I guess when you first started when you landed on your idea, like how did you start, and what were like I'm wondering if you can highlight sort of the steps that you took to get to the end product. Do you have some kind of process?
Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah. So when you landed on the idea of what you wanted to build, and a lot of developers, at least the new developers that I've talked to, one of their challenges when they're trying to build like a dApp is, how do I even begin? I have some kind of idea that I want to build. I have some kind of features that I want to build. How do I even begin? How, like, and then like once you start getting into that rabbit hole, then you have like 1,000 of these like design questions of like how many blueprints I need to build and how do I interconnect and that sort of thing. So basically, like the question I'm asking is like, did you have some kind of process when you built this? That
This is a very new field for me, making portfolio software. So basically, I just have to start and see what happens. That is my method when doing something that new. And so what I did was I just made the Radfolio.rs file, and I thought, okay, what do I need in this sort of app? I'm going to need a deposit method. So I wrote that. And then I started thinking, okay, so what does this deposit method actually need to do? And from there on, a lot of new other methods get born. It was very trial and failure oriented, I could say.
yeah. And as I'm looking through this, I just wanted to make a quick comment. Like, and I think Omar gave you the same comment as well. Like, you've done like an amazing job at documenting your work here. It's super awesome, and it's great because it kind of gives like an example for future submissions, like how to do documentation. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, there's some contest strategy in there, the tip for the competition perhaps. And that is, it doesn't help if your code is absolutely brilliant, as long as the judges don't understand that it's brilliant. You need to write a lot of documentation to point out the places where your code really shines. So the judges know to score you for it.
Exactly. Well, so you mentioned that when you start this process, you just kind of just get started. You built your Radfolio and you're thinking about what kind of methods you need to begin this process. And as you go through and meander through the design questions that you have, is when I guess you have several paths that you got to take. Was there?
Yeah, it's like when I write the deposit function, that's when I start realizing that well, I'm going to need to have some sort of fees here for the protocol. And I may want to have fees for other people. I may want to be able to use influencers and such. And so I start adding all these features on top of each other. And that all comes out mostly from writing the first method.
Yeah, I noticed that you did have like a partners, influencers type of addition here to your submission. Where did you get that idea?
I think I got that idea from some of the wilder projects I've been involved in on the Binance Smart Chain. They have all sorts of marketing tricks up their sleeves. And that is one of them. Try to get influencers to market your product.
Interesting, and they would get like a cut from the profits.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, did you have any challenges when you, I guess, from like a technical point of view of building this dApp?
I think what I use the most time on is writing my test suite. And what I use the most time on there is writing good regular expressions and parsing the results.
Yeah, testing is definitely a big part of Scrypto and well, just building your dApp in general. I know that in the community, at least, there's been like a lot of questions around testing. Unfortunately, like that idea behind the scenes that we're trying to work on is still developing. What does testing looks like for us? So you mentioned that testing is one of the things that took the most time for you.
Yeah, definitely. Both writing the tests and also writing the support framework I need to have around those tests. That takes maybe 70 to 80% of the time.
Okay. But the design of this, like, I guess took 20% of the time.
Yeah, I would think so. What I generally do is first I write the blueprint to basically completion. And then I start writing tests for it and find all the bugs and fix those.
I have a feeling what the answer might be, but I guess I wanted to ask you yourself, like, what did you find easy when you were developing and designing this app? At least,
And
yeah, at least as it relates to Scrypto, I suppose.
the most surprisingly easy thing is moving assets around, basically. And so I can focus on my own logic, because moving assets around is just trivially easy.
Yeah, definitely the Radix engine like assists with that, and the Scrypto language certainly helps you utilize the Radix engine to move assets around. That's I guess what will make dApps powerful on Radix.
Yeah, it basically does all the work for you in that regard.
Okay. Um, is there anything here, I guess, that I've like brushed over that you wanted to highlight in your submission?
I think what I'm the happiest about in what I designed is that I was able to abstract out the investment vehicle with a very small interface that I think can be very powerful for use in portfolio management.
What was powerful to use again?
The abstracted out interface I made for the investment vehicle components.
Right, this blueprint here.
Yeah, so this isn't really a blueprint. It's basically just the template for a blueprint. So it shows you how you need to implement your own component if you want to have an investment that can be plugged into the Radfolio.
Oh yeah, totally.
And it has only a few methods in it, and those methods is all that is necessary for the Radfolio to use it.
So anyone can pretty much like if this was like I guess like a live dApp, any developer can pretty much like customize this blueprint to their needs and then hook it up to Radfolio.
Yes, exactly. So what you could do is you could be completely unconnected to the Radfolio project itself, but you could have a good investment opportunity, and you can write an implementation of this. Shall we call it a template for a blueprint? And then you can sell that or rent that or give that to people who run Radfolio instances. And then they can use that in their investment portfolio.
That's actually quite interesting. I haven't tried that idea before when I was doing challenges and so on, but that's actually really cool. That you can publish this and then if this was like a live app and people can customize how they see it and then just connect it to your Radfolio blueprint. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm quite happy about that.
Yeah, I mean it's a wonderful submission, and I mean that's the reason why you got first place. Congratulations on that. Do you plan to participate in the DAO challenge by chance, or are you too busy with Vikings?
I haven't started yet. I still might start, but I haven't really decided.
Okay. Yeah, it would be awesome to see your submission, just because it'd be nice to just have additional examples for people to take a look at and borrow what they need, find inspiration, and so on.
Yeah, it's a very interesting challenge again, so I'm hoping I can find the time to participate.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much all I have. Is there anything that I missed that you'd like to mention? Yeah.
There's nothing I can particularly think of. I think we covered the most interesting parts. So most of the rest of the blueprint is, well, it's administration of lists of data answers, and I think it's very exciting.
Yeah. Well, Bent / Scrypto Night, like I appreciate you coming on here and just helping me walk through this, just to give everyone like an overview of how your blueprint works, but not only that, but also your background and how you approach this. I think that will be pretty valuable to any new Scrypto developers, just to get an idea of what how other people are solving problems, what their workflow is like, and etc.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been very interesting.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, I mean, I hope you do participate in a DAO challenge. Just to, I mean, I love looking at your code. When I saw your lending submission, it was great to see. I mean, I myself don't have the breadth of your development experience. I've only done Scrypto for about a few months now, I suppose, and I didn't have any dev experience. I worked in finance, and that was, I mean, it helped a little bit, but not really. So it was interesting to me when I like looked at your lending submission. Some of the methods, the way that you like designed the logic, I was like really happy to see that it was similar to how I did it, especially with how you mutated NFTs, like I guess like in a generic way. It was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's very surprising to me to see that it's so easy for people to just go straight into Scrypto. I had used to think that Rust was a bit of a complicated systems programming language, and to see newcomers just pick it up and run with it, that is very exciting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I read somewhere that like when before you dive into Scrypto, I mean, you had C++ experience, but you haven't learned Rust yet, right?
Well, I don't know Rust at all, really. I just know enough to put it together in Scrypto.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. Um, well, I mean, that's all I have. Well, thanks for taking the time to get on here again. And I guess Austin, like while you're here, and I guess Percival, if you guys have any questions for Ben while he's here, maybe you guys can ask him.
I don't think I have any specific questions. I think that you've done an awesome job of just a high level overview of what's going on his Radfolio submission. Yeah, and well done, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll make sure not to repeat any of these questions whenever I get a chance to talk with you.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, all right. I don't want to take too much of your time. I guess I'll let you go and I guess have a great evening. It's evening over there in Norway, right?
Yeah, it's coming up on 6:30.
Wow. Okay. Well, if you haven't had dinner yet, I guess it's a good time to go to have dinner.
Yeah, it's a good suggestion.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you coming on again.
Yeah, thanks yourself.